we've just finished our production and we're ready to exchange and work towards getting documents into our litigation database as we prepare for trial. So taking, instead of that huge data set, we now have an exponentially smaller set of data that is highly targeted to our case that we are now ready to start working with as we prepare for trial, managing depositions, creating exhibit and witness binders, things of that nature. I know that we've kind of talked about the litigation suite a number of times. We've gone over just a high level overview of what it is, but today is going to be the first day that we're actually going to get to dive into what the litigation suite is and some of the tools that we're going to be able to use within it. Generally have a production folder, or you could filter real quickly for documents that are responsive, not privileged, and say, these are the documents that I'm going to be pulling over. And at that point, you could take all of them, exchange. If this is internal, because again, an exchange is going to be internally from one Nextpoint database to another. And so if this is internal, where no one else is going to be seeing this but my team, I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't need to review this load file. I can either create a new database and say, let's create a litigation database and title it after the case, or I can choose an existing database and it will prompt me for that PIN, that exchange PIN, which can be found under more, settings, export exchange, which we kind of lived in the previous training. And there it is that exchange PIN. And so when I hit this and hit set PIN, it is a quality assurance check to be like, is this where you actually want this information to go? Yes, this is where I want it to go. What do you want to bring over? I'm going to go ahead and transfer the natives and smart override. I'm going to go ahead and take those Bates numbers that I had, that metadata for those Bates numbers that I can search on, especially want to bring over those document issues. If there's any confidentiality or custodians, document tags, I'm going to bring that over. The only thing that I recommend, or don't necessarily always recommend, is going to be the folders and folder categories, because although these are definitely like helpful when you went through and review documents in the discovery database, you're probably going to end up setting up the organizational system in your litigation database a bit differently. And then the last thing here is going to be selecting all of the additional metadata here. I like pulling this in because I don't like losing any information that may or may not be relevant if it's going to be internal. And then you just hit the submit and approve it in the other database for that transfer to start. And then those documents will be exchanged from one database to the other. So we are now officially done with the discovery database. I'm going to exit out, and we can see that the home page is now a documents tab. You'll notice a lack of the analytics tab over here. We'll see some new tabs, the deponents and proceedings tab, and then some of those other settings that, or those other tabs that we're accustomed to seeing, like share, data, users, settings, and theater. These are all things that we're accustomed to seeing in the discovery database as well. So from a UI UX perspective, just from an experience perspective, a lot of the stuff here is going to be acting similar to the discovery database, but some of it's going to be new, obviously, as well. We still have the ability to search over across the entire database using Boolean search logic. We can save those searches. We can run advanced searches. We have filters. We still have folders and folder categories, but things are maybe set up a little bit differently in that we have these deponents tabs to manage depositions and transcripts. Proceedings is the same thing, just within court. And these tabs over here are new. We've got folders, which is going to be any of the folders that we create. Document issues. I think this is really cool because all of those documents that you exchanged over and coded for relevancy, we're going to be able to see why they were coded for relevancy. And they're organized based on the folder. And anytime you make any changes to this, if you were to code documents within the litigation database, it's going to automatically update these folders with those documents that have been tagged to those specific issues. In the discovery database, you certainly have the ability to identify these documents via searches and filters. But really, this is all about organization and getting your themes ready as you prepare for trial. And so, again, we've got bad faith claim has 334 documents. Doesn't necessarily mean that some of those documents aren't in these other folders as well, because they don't have to be mutually exclusive. One document could pertain to multiple issues. It can be tagged to multiple issues, just like a document can be tagged to multiple folders that you create. So then there's one other tab here. I'm not really going to touch on it, but this is just batches to show, like, if you ever wanted to, instead of just go to more data and import, here are all these different batches. You also have the ability to find these batches very quickly, very easily from the home page as well, to see where this information was coming in from.